It's been quite a while since I made a video, and honestly, today the only reason why I feel compelled to is because I'm on the caffeine. When I drink some of my tea from my new tea set, that's when I feel like the energy to speak, the energy to share. Other times I just content with silence. And the idea that I want to share is based around the idea of faith and what faith is, what it truly means, I guess any common misconceptions around it, and the purpose, I guess you could say. So I guess the first thing I really want to address is the difference between faith and blind faith. Because I can tell you from my own experience when I was younger, when I was very much of a reductionist, materialist type of scientific mind, I didn't take faith seriously. I seen it as illogical. I seen it as irrational. I seen it really truly as just stupid. And the way I looked at it was blind faith. When people just blindly have faith in something they've never experienced themselves. So this was very common, I suppose, in a lot of religious sects where people believe the authority, whether it be the priest or their parents that told them this is how it is, and they trust in that authority because this authority, for whatever reason, is somebody trustworthy to them. But they never had the experience themselves, and that is the difference here. The faith I experience now has nothing to do with an authority figure giving me a belief system and me hoping and trusting that that is correct. The only reason why I have faith now is because of my own experience. It's essentially as if I have faith in my memory, have faith in my past experiences. Because I have had many, countless experiences really, of the truth of reality being shown to me, being experienced, being felt on a very deep level, something that is undeniable to me. So, trusting in an authority figure because they provide you with something, they've been there for you. This is not the same thing as faith. This is belief. You believe they are telling the truth because they have before, or because what they say is attractive or comforting and you want it to be true. But in order to get to a space of real faith, it honestly requires a leap of faith. Not knowing, going into the unknown, going into that uncomfortable zone that you don't know what's going to happen. And for whatever reason, some people go in there and some people don't. I, at one point in my life, felt it was necessary to venture into the unknown, to go into a space where I didn't know what the truth was going to be. And it was terrifying, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I had another choice. And that's when I was shown this truth that I know now. So I guess that would be the difference between faith and belief. People are raised in religious households, and their parents and their priests and everybody, they tell them that God is here, God is protecting you, God is the all, whatever they hear about God. And then they believe that. The same way you believe everything your parents tell you up to a certain point. And what a belief is just a thought that plays on repeat in your mind, and you hold it to be true, and it creates a certain state of consciousness because of it. Creates a certain emotion, creates a certain state of being. So if somebody tells you, God is always with you, that sounds really nice because it sounds like somebody is there to protect you at all times. So therefore, whenever you come up against fear, you can remember that, and it's comforting for you. And this can be a good tool to help you get through hard times, but if you are dependent on it, if that becomes a crutch for you, if that becomes something that you always turn to and you never face the dark because you only want to believe in the light, then that's not so much faith, that's belief. That's holding on to something you want to be true. So the faith I experience is that when I'm diligent with my spiritual practice, my sadhana, as some might call it, when I do these things daily or at least regularly, I find myself in a space where all is known to me, where there is no real question or confusion as to what I am or who I am or why I'm here or any of these things. But then when I stray from my path, when I stray from the practice, I find myself falling into old patterns, old thoughts, old emotions of fear and separation and uncertainty. So the faith is essentially a state of mind, a state of knowing, a reoccurring of a certain thought pattern, an understanding of who I truly am and what I'm capable of, and that there is truly nothing to fear. Even in the space of unknowing and uncertainty, there is just this underlying understanding that says, you've been in worse places, you've gotten through worse, you know the truth of your being, you've seen it a million times before. And it's honestly, sometimes it can get so polarized where I'm so in fear that this other knowing, sometimes even a voice might say, how many times do we have to prove this to you? How many times do you have to be shown what you truly are? Because honestly, over the past however many years I've been on this path, I've been shown this truth thousands of times. But that's the nature of duality. We forget and we remember. We forget and we remember. So the faith comes from the experience of knowing who you are, and then it stays around like a reverberation, like an echo in your mind, like an echo in your being, an echo in your soul that reassures you every time you come close to that edge where you're like, oh, should I just give up? This is scary. I don't know if I'm doing this properly. I don't know if this is the right way. Should I take a different route? Should I just take the easy way? When these questions arise, if you've had the experience of your all-knowingness, that will reoccur to you and say, essentially, you're going exactly where you should be. You're always safe. Everything is exactly as it should be. That's faith. It's not a hope. It's not a wish. It's an understanding of a previous experience that confirms the reality of who you are when you've allowed yourself to forget. There are those who've never had this experience. There are those who are just going by what other people tell them. People who are on the spiritual path or the path to consciousness elevation, and they look to others as authorities. They look to others for answers. And they hear their words and they like their words of you know, when I tell this to people myself, you know, you are all powerful, you are eternal, you are infinite. There's nothing that can truly harm you because you're an eternal, infinite being. And of course, to anybody who is scared of anything, this is going to sound attractive. So you hang on to these words. But when it comes down to it, when you are face to face with your biggest fears, regardless of who said that to you and how much you might trust them, in that moment, you've got to be able to let go of what that belief is, that belief in what somebody else told you. You've got to open the door. You've got to go through it. You've got to take the leap and understand that you don't know what's going to happen when you go through or take that jump. It's been a long time since I had this experience myself. Like, you know, I still experience it in different ways whenever I start to fall back into duality consciousness. But I have an inkling, an inkling of a memory from many years ago when I first took this leap. I remember somewhat just knowing that I've come too far and there's no turning back because I've seen too much. I've understood too much. And if I wanted to go back and live in the illusion, I wouldn't be able to because I've seen through it. And I wouldn't be able to keep up the charade. So I was at a standstill. I was at an impasse. There was no going back to my old life. There was no going back to the old ways of thought and being because I knew it wasn't real. And then there was this open door where I didn't know what was on the other side. But I had no choice but to go through. And I remember it being the most terrifying thing that I have ever encountered in my life. But then I went through into the void. And at that point, I didn't have faith. I just didn't have any other option. But then going through, breaking on through to the other side, as Jim Morrison put it, you see the nature of reality. You understand who you are, what you are, why you are. All the questions you've once wondered, the answers are shown to you. And then it becomes the most real thing you know. Everything you've experienced up until that point is but an illusion, just another dream. Your separateness, your idea of identity, your name, your job, your history, your friends, your family, everything that you experienced is just an aspect of illusion. Now, that isn't to dismiss it or devalue it or disparage it in any way, because everything is of equal value, everything is of equal beauty and necessity, and even the trees I'm looking at right now, they are but fabrications of my own mind. Beautiful, magnificent fabrications of my own mind that literally emanate frequencies that I connect with and respond with and feel on some level. And even this idea of feeling, this idea of sensing, all but illusions. And this knowing comes from taking that leap, walking through that door, and leaving the physical world behind and seeing what is beyond it. And once I knew what was beyond it, I knew it to be reality. The underlying creator, the created, the genesis, the fabric, that which makes it all. And in this space, you experience faith. And then from then on, no matter what happens, that is still known to you. You can try and try and try to forget what you have known. And you will be put in situations where fear and desire will elude you. But once you've experienced it, faith never really goes away. There's always the knowing. So to reiterate, faith is not belief. Faith is not blind. Faith is an understanding. Faith is a remembering of something you've experienced. We've all had bursts of these experiences throughout our lives where we felt infinite, where we felt free, where we felt powerful, where we thought this is all a dream. But then we interact with our reality and we are told that is all part of our imagination, and to not take that seriously. And this is the world, and there's nothing you can do and to change it, and you're just as insignificant as everyone else, and all these things. And then we no longer believe the experience we had. It's as if you go into the dream, you see the truth, and then you come out and it starts to fade. And everything in your surrounding reality contradicts what you've just seen. And you start to feel as if, wow, maybe that was all just a lie. And then you fall back into fear and separation, into this distorted idea of reality we can all share at some point. But then we come back to our understanding of who and what we are. And it's a constant cycle. So the faith is the knowing. The faith is the remembering of the experience that showed you your true nature. And when you align with this, when you understand that that is reality, everything in your external world begins to align for you in the ways in which serve you most, in the ways in which serve the whole, because you are but one part of it. Serving yourself is serving the whole. There is no self-service, truthfully, without serving the whole. I remember thinking that faith was kind of like a cowardly way. To have faith, blind faith, is to hope and wish for something so you feel comfortable. But it's actually quite the opposite. Faith, having faith, taking that leap of faith is the most courageous thing, the most courageous act you could commit. Because it truly means going into the unknown, being completely vulnerable, allowing yourself to risk it all. When you understand your true nature, that you are not limited to this external body, there can be a knowing that you are always safe. But ironically enough, that's not a promise. That's not something to lure you into taking the leap of faith. Because if you're going into that leap of faith hoping you will become safe, then you will never be able to actually go through that door. You need to let go of your safety first. You need to understand that you aren't safe. It's all quite paradoxical. But as I've said before, if you want to understand reality, get comfortable with the contradiction. There's contradiction inherent in reality and inherent in all truth. I've said many things. I've shared what I need to share, I think. Anything from here on will just be repeating myself. So for now, I want to show you something. Just about a month and a half to 2 months ago, I was out in these very woods, late at night, the sun was down, foraging for mushrooms with my friend and his dog. And we encountered a cougar. And that was a test of faith. As soon as I saw the cougar, as soon as I locked eyes with him, he was about 20 or 30 feet away from us in the woods, staring at us, still. And I seen his eyes, and immediately my heart jumped. I had that adrenaline response. But along with that adrenaline response, there was a thought in my mind, or just a knowing, just an understanding that fear will not serve me. So I basically just took a deep breath and understood that as truth. And my fear subsided. And then I looked at my friend and I said, what do we do in this situation? And then we took the necessary steps to handle it properly, and we got away safely. But it was interesting because an older version of me, just a few years ago, well, quite a few now, I suppose, say me 10 years ago, if I was faced with that same situation, I don't know how I would have acted. I would have been losing my mind. My heart would have been beating out of my chest. But the second I decided that the fear will not serve me, I knew that I was going to be okay. I even imagined a scenario where we would have had to battle the cougar if he were to try to attack us. I imagined, if he comes at us, the three of us will try to do our best to take it down and get ourselves away from the situation. And even imagining that scenario, it never scared me, because I just had faith. I just knew that this is not my time to go. I'm not choosing to leave. Everything is ultimately my choice. And I just knew that this wasn't the end. So the fear went away, and we found our way out safely. And there's been a couple scenarios like this over the past couple of years where I've been faced with the possibility of my own death. And then that faith comes in and says, you're not ready to go, you're not choosing to go, so you will not go. This is not what you want. And even if you do, then that's okay. And then when the fear subsides, I'm able to see things as they are, and then the solution or the answer to the situation becomes clear to me. That's the space, that's the flow state. That's the knowing. Where you can see what's necessary. In each and every moment we are free. In each and every moment we have the capacity to free ourselves and know ourselves. We are never truly trapped. No matter what the external world gives us as evidence, we are always free if we choose to be. When we recognize this as truth, when we recognize that we are free in our souls, in our minds, in our spirits, all it takes is that recognition, and it changes the energy frequency you vibrate at it. And as that changes, it permeates outwards into the world around you, into the universe, and the universe will contort itself and correspond to exactly what you feel. But if you look at the fact that your borders are closed, or that you can't go see your nan, as something that makes you believe that you are trapped and you are not free, and you feel that, and you see it as truth, and that is the frequency you are sending out, and that is what will continue to be. But if you understand that it all starts with your energy, everything around you is a reflection of your energy, a reflection of your frequency. We are electrical, energetic beings, and our thought affects our energy. Our feeling affects our energy. So as you change the thought and the feeling, the matter has no choice but to adapt. The energy is the ground floor. It is where everything is created. Matter is but a consequence of it, a manifestation of it. You do not have to manipulate matter in order to change the reality around you. You manipulate the energy, and the matter will correspond. That's what we have to have faith in, that very concept. We had to remember that we are all powerful. We are the ones that choose, because we are conscious beings. We can understand these things intellectually and practice these things. And as we do, we literally manipulate the world around us with our thought and feeling. Yes, yep. All right, I got nothing else. I fucking love you all so much. Oh, man. Don't you feel this shift, man? Oh, man. This world is changing fast in such beautiful ways. And it seems scary sometimes, but that's just what happens when something old dies. When big changes happen, they happen due to chaos. Chaos is introduced when shifts are made. It's not subtle shift. We're going through a quick shift now because we had subtle shifts, subtle changes for a very long time. Now it's the big one. So hang on. Hang on to love, hang on to truth. And just know that everything is going as it should. Have that faith. Yeah. Thanks for taking this walk with me.